Hello friends, and welcome to my today's lecture, that is on the themes in Wallace Stevens' poem Anecdote of the Jar. In my last lecture, I had spoken about the summary and analysis of this very same poem Anecdote of the Jar. I had also mentioned that the poem could be read as a meditation on the human instinct for narrative and meaning, the desire to create an, in quotes, an anecdote to make sense of the world through stories and art. I had also mentioned its comparison with Keats's Grecian urn, where the jar acts as an object of art, and the hill and the wilderness around it as a part of nature and some symbolic meaning into it. Today I'll be talking about the various themes that Stevens deals with in his poem Anecdote of the Jar. Now, when we think of the poem, friends, and its title, what actually comes to our mind at the very first instance is the jar, which is man's or human creation and its surrounding nature, and obviously a relationship between them. So we can say that this poem actually explores the relationship between humans and the natural world, and also a man's desire or wish to impose order and structure on its environment. Now, by placing this object, object that is a jar, which is man-made, now in the middle of the sprawling wilderness, in quotes, the poet contrasts two very different creations, that is the rigid object and the slovenly natural world that grows around it. Now, whether the jar seems out of place or not, but the presence of the jar itself is a questionable issue or an issue for debate, but a lot depends on how the readers interpret the symbolism of the jar itself. Now, the poem could also be interpreted as a commentary on the suffocating rigidity of the human life, that is, man's modern life, which tames, or rather tries to tame, the wilderness of nature, and this wilderness representing creativity and spontaneity, or it could also be a critique of the human desire to conquer the earth and a takedown of industrialization. Now, even in the end of the poem, we see that some enigmatic questions have been raised about the relationship between human and nature. Now, when we read through the poem, we find that the poem is very simple and straightforward, where the speaker places a jar in the middle of the rural Tennessee. Now, the jar, though simple, reflects the way the people try to categorize, contain, and control the world around them. Jars, though are man-made, plain containers, but symbolize the stifling convenience and structure of modern life. Jars represent civilization and serves as a sort of emissary of the human world. Now, But in contrast, or rather in juxtaposition to this jar, we have nature, which seems, in quotes, slovenly, that is very messy and careless. Now, because the speaker deems it as wilderness, it emphasizes the contrast between the neat, orderly jar and the untamed world around that jar. The speaker also mentions the jar as a kind of king trying to take hold of the dominion of the world, which clearly depicts the presence of human order in a humble figure of a jar, a sense of pattern and purpose on its surroundings, which is deemed to rise to meet it till the wilderness is lost, or rather, it is no longer wild. Now, so the jar that tames or domesticates the nature surrounding it like a human being. And here too we see that the orderly human world is contrasted to the comparative freedom of nature. And the expression in the poem that the jar is bare and empty could also suggest that the man's supposed orderly dominion over nature is hollow or merely a kind of illusion. Now, if you view the poem in this way, that nature alone remains the ultimate creator, human inventions without their creators are useless. And nature has genuine creativity and spontaneity in it, which is lacking in a jar or human inventions which cannot grow on their own like any bird or a bush, etc. Now, two more themes could also be discussed in this poem, Anecdote of the Jar, together with the one that we discussed. And among them, one is imagism. Now, the predominant images in the poem that are there, they include the jar, hill, and the wilderness. And the interrelationship between these images actually bring out the mutuality between the natural and the man-made or manufactured features. And it is also true that without the hill and the wilderness, the jar would not stand at all. Now, another theme that we could discuss, though last but not the least, is estrangement. Or we could say that the poem is about separation. Now, the jar on the hill depicts isolation. It is usually in the domestic field and is found among the kitchen diners. Now, taking this jar out on the hill itself among the wilderness is comparable to alienating it from the other household utensils. But we see that this jar seems to fit in the natural world. That's all about the themes in Wallace Stevens' poem, Anecdote of the Jar. I'll be coming up with more aspects of this poem and others. Till then, goodbye and thank you, friends.